All right. Welcome back to the channel. So Shawn Porter blasts Terence Crawford and/or Top Rank and says that the $2 million offer that they gave him is an insult. So is Shawn Porter ducking Terence Crawford or not? Let's talk about this. Let's talk about that, excuse me, in this video. All right, welcome back, welcome back. So, Shawn Porter turns down $2 million and tells Top Rank Terence Crawford, look, man, that's an insult. Even as a starting point of our negotiation, that is an insult. No. That, I do believe, has struck some people the wrong way. And I can understand why it would. Because Shawn Porter is in a position where he doesn't have a belt. Two of the belts are held by a guy that just beat him. And the other one, Yordenis Ugas, is not necessarily that lucrative a fight, but he is also behind Errol Spence more than likely in trying to get that fight. So I believe that what we'll hear from very reasonable people, right? Good people, reasonable people. I'm not discounting anybody else's opinion. I'm just sharing with you mine. Terence Crawford, in my opinion, Shawn Porter, in my opinion, is right from his vantage point, without a doubt. And why do I say that? Because this is something I've seen Shawn Porter do in the past, and it's worked. So why wouldn't he do it now? And also, if you look at $2 million and you say, okay, if they just started $2 million, well, where do you think you're going to wind up being? You might wind up, if you're lucky, get to 4, right? So Shawn Porter is saying, look, I know how these negotiations go, all right? You are lowballing me to start the negotiation. You know full well that I am not going to fight Terence Crawford for $2 million. There are a bunch of other people that Shawn Porter can fight for $2 million and not have to risk a loss that will prevent him from getting at any of the other major championship belts. Also, he did not fight Errol Spence Jr. for $2 million. In fact, I recall what happened in the negotiation from the outside, right? Not close up, but from the outside. I recall someone telling me when I asked them, when is the Shawn Porter fight going to happen? Is it going to happen? They said, yeah, we believe it's going to happen. But right now, Shawn really wants this on pay-per-view, where we, that being Errol Spence Jr.'s team, I did not hear this from Errol Spence Jr.'s team, but we, right, looking at them as if I'm speaking from their person, don't think that this is necessarily a pay-per-view fight. People may not react right to this. This may seem like a fight we need to put on regular Fox, or we need to put on Fox, or we need to put on Showtime. And then, therefore we know, that the money is right. Shawn Porter said, no, if I'm going, at least that's my understanding. No, if I'm going to fight Errol Spence Jr., Errol just fought Mikey on pay-per-view. You can fight me on pay-per-view. And what happened? Shawn Porter got the fight with Errol Spence Jr., and Shawn Porter got that fight on pay-per-view. And again, it's my understanding that that was something that happened upon his insistence. Like, pay-per-view or no go, bro. Pay-per-view or no go. So it winds up being on pay-per-view. It winds up, from all I've heard, a successful pay-per-view, and boom, he winds up being right. He did the right thing in that particular instance. So I think it's reasonable to expect Shawn Porter to do the same thing here. Look, man, I've been around in this business a long time. All right. Don't try this. All right. I've had championship fights against Kell Brook, that quite honestly he thinks he got robbed, and after looking at it again, I don't know, man. Shawn might have won that fight, but regardless, that was championship experience. Him fighting Kell Brook for that belt. I think he won the belt off Paulie Malignaggi, but the Kell Brook fight, he knew what he got paid, right? When he wins the WBC belt against Danny Garcia, I do believe that it was a vacant WBC belt that he won, which was vacated by Keith Thurman, right? So he winds up getting, I guarantee you, more than a starting offer of $2 million for that fight. Why would he expect anything less from Terence Crawford? And if you listen to the Shawn Porter, I think it's called the Porter Way podcast, and I really wish the dude would put it out more often, honestly, because the guy is a great boxing mind. Like, there's a lot of people that talk boxing on YouTube, right, myself included, but I would, in no stretch of the imagination, consider myself to be as much of an expert on the technical aspects or the ring aspects, and probably even, the real nitty-gritty, business aspects of boxing, because he's been there, done that for years. So he, I do believe, has a good sense of his own value, and I don't have any beef at all with him saying that. Now, also, there's an aspect of this where you can look at it and say, hey, man, what's good for the goose is good for the gander. And Terence Crawford himself said to Errol Spence Jr., man, I ain't trying to hear nothing about no 30%, okay? Because Errol said, look, man, you're going to take this 60-40, or maybe he gets to 70-30. What did Terence Crawford say? Look, at 70-30, that ain't even happening. Matter of fact, I want 50-50. Now, what is that? That is trying to start, and it is a legitimate negotiation tactic, really, because statistics tell you that if you start high, right, say Shawn Porter said, I'll make the offer, and here's my offer, I want $10 million for this fight, similar to what Keith Thurman did. If Top Rank is serious about the fight, then just statistics tell you that Shawn Porter, because he started high, has a higher likelihood of getting close to his initial asking price. But if he starts off low, then the same thing applies in reverse. He will wind up, statistically speaking, more than likely, he'll wind up at a lower rate. And that is something that is taught in, I took my negotiation education from Harvard University, online business school. I didn't go right to the university. However, my negotiations training, what they taught me at Harvard University was in multiple experiments to start high. And statistics tell you, I'll repeat this, that if you start high, you may wind up coming down. But if you start here, climbing that hill ain't the easiest thing in the world. So I don't have an issue with that, especially since Terence Crawford said the same thing about Errol Spence Jr. and is doing the same thing with Errol Spence Jr. Not saying, hey, man, I'll just take some real low shit and low stuff and be okay with it, right? And we'll see how that pans out for him. So I just wanted to give you my thoughts, my initial thoughts on what Shawn Porter said, looking at it from the point of view of Shawn Porter. I understand fully that there's the political aspects of boxing that could tell people, oh, no, look, Shawn, this is a shot that you got. Take that money from Terence because we believe that you got at least a 48% chance of beating Terence Crawford, right? I call that fight 52-48 in favor of Terence Crawford. It is by no means a blowout. So playing devil's advocate, I can see why people might take the other view. But again, when you're trying to get in the mind and trying to evaluate a business situation or whether or not you think somebody is really worth what they're saying or whether they're being reasonable or unreasonable, I think you have to use empathy, get in the mindset of that in particular person, see the world through his eyes, and I think that you'll find that when you do that Shawn Porter's not doing much different than you would do. He's already been a champion multiple times. This is not his first rodeo. He has already been one. He's made good money as a champion. He's made good money not being a champion. So I don't believe that he is going to say, let me make bad money to be a champion. Because if he sits long enough and he's patient long enough, he will probably get that Errol Spence Jr. rematch because that's hot on the table for him as well. But anyway, that's my take on the matter. You let me know yours. I definitely respect your opinion. Hope you respect mine. And that is it. Let me know what you think in the comment section. And with that, I'm out. Peace.